Have you been looking for a 4K camera with an extremely wide field of view that can practically see in the dark? Then you're in the right place. The Reolink Argus 4 Pro is exactly what you've been looking for. I'm Wanderer 001. Let's get into it. To start things off, Reolink did reach out to me and provide me with the Argus 4 Pro before its launch for the purposes of testing and creating a video review. However, Reolink does not have any say into the content of this video. Starting off with our hardware, you are looking at 4.9 inches wide with a height of 3.3 inches down to the sensor here with a depth of 3.1 inches. And considering the amount of technology that's built into this, that size is not terrible at all. When we come to the front of our device, you can really see the standout feature of this, which is Reolink's dual lens system here. For both of our lenses, you are looking at 44mm lenses with f1.0 super aperture lens with a 1/1.8 sensor, giving you a total resolution of 5120 by 1441. And that's going to give you 180 degrees panoramic horizontal view. The dual lenses have a stitching technology, which has an advanced algorithm developed for the Argus 4 Pro to minimize distortion and ensure seamless, clear panoramic views of your target when moving through frame. And I tested this out quite a bit in different lighting conditions, moving from the left side to the right side. I knew exactly where the center frame was for this, and I would pass back and forth. And realistically, you cannot tell when you transition from one lens to the other lens. And that is something that you really want in a ultra wide panoramic view that uses two lenses. You don't want to see any hesitation or stuttering as it moves from lens to lens. You will not see that with the Argus 4 Pro here. For our vertical field of view, you are looking at 50 degrees. Regardless of night, day, or evening shots, you are looking at 15 frames a second. The Argus 4 Pro here does support digital zoom, and on the highest setting is extraordinarily detailed, the amount of sharpness that you see even when just digitally zooming in. Moving down the center of our camera, right up here, this is our ambient light sensor. You're going to need that to actually tell it when it's dark enough to use the next thing down, which is our LED spotlight. You might not notice, but there's actually two LEDs on this side, two LEDs on this side, and one in the middle, giving you a total of 5 LED nodes, which will give you 300 lumens at 6500 Kelvin temperature. The LEDs help this camera see in the dark much clearer than you could with a IR light. Moving down from that is our microphone. What I want you to notice, not anywhere on this camera are IR lights. That's because the Argus 4 Pro here has what Reolink is calling their ColorX technology, where the camera can shoot full color night vision with no need for infrared lights or spotlights. Yes, you do have spotlights on this camera, but they are not needed and more of a deterrent, or if you really want to make a picture extra clear. I have only tested one other camera that has had the type of color night vision that this has, and let me tell you, I was extraordinarily impressed with the color night vision from Reolink. In fact, the Reolink camera was placed in an area that did not get as much light as that other camera that I had mentioned with the color night vision technology. And let me tell you, there were a few times where I had to actually look out my window to see how dark it was, because when I looked through the camera, I didn't realize how late or dark it was outside. That's just giving you a heads up as to how good the ColorX technology is with this Reolink camera. And last but not least, on the front is our PIR sensor. This is a heat-based motion sensor. Any camera that you have that is a battery-powered camera is going to have a PIR sensor. It has a 33-foot range and is actually ultra-wide because, well, if your lenses are going to stick out on either side, you have to make sure that your PIR sensor is able to detect things off to the side that far. When triggered, the onboard AI analyzes the motion event and identifies whether it's a person, pet, or a vehicle, which helps to cut down on the triggers and notifications that you get depending on how you have things set up in the application. Coming to the top of our camera, we can see there's actually not a lot to look at right there. If we flip the camera over and come to the bottom of our camera, we have a rubberized weatherproof cover. If we pull that up, you're going to notice that there is some very good channeling around, which actually has a seat to plug into, as well as these extra things. These are kind of nice too, where they have a place to plug into, giving you an extra bit of weather sealing. You have a power button right there, and then you have your micro SD card slot, and the Argus 4 Pro here can have up to 128 gigabyte SD card, giving you plenty of space for the captures that you'll get with this camera. If we come around to the back of it, besides my horrible taping job to cover up some sensitive information, you have your speaker here on the left-hand side, and then on the right, you have another rubberized port with a deep channel to keep the weather out, and this is going to be your USB-C power port. Now, you can take this down to charge up the 5,000 milliamp battery, or using the add-on of the Reolink Solar Panel 2, which gives you 6 watts of power to the camera, you could keep your camera in place indefinitely, because with as little as 10 minutes a day of sunlight to this, you can keep your camera charged for 24 hours. And I will say I was impressed with the solar capability of this particular solar panel, because I had this camera out testing on a very overcast day and I was still getting a charge to the camera. This could be the way to go if you need to place this camera and have it in place indefinitely. If you're not planning on using the add-on solar panel, the Argus 4 actually saves you 2 watt hours in its night vision mode because it does not use those IR lights. It doesn't need to use those LED lights either because of that ColorX technology. So you're actually saving yourself battery power by not having to initiate IR lights, which Reolink says contributes to a 30% longer battery life and extended standby time by 12 days compared to infrared battery powered cameras with similar functionality. The weather stripping, as I mentioned before, is very nice and substantial in both places, but the Argus 4 Pro also comes with a IP rating of 66. And what I can say is, while I was testing this, this camera got rained on a lot. And I mean, everything from a drizzle to all out downpours, and it never had any problems. In fact, one of the things I want to point out with these lenses, you might not be able to see really well, but they're actually sunk into the front face a little bit, giving rain a place to channel around the lenses so that you actually don't get weather on the lens. And if we bring that even closer, the lens itself kind of protrudes a little bit so that, again, it helps move that rain around it so that you don't get rain on your lenses. We talked a lot about the Reolink camera itself, and you might have noticed I have it kind of sitting on a stand right now. There's a lot of other things that we get with the Argus 4 Pro, so let's take a look. Mounting guide, bunch of stickers, instructional quick start guide, the actual camera itself. This looks like our mounting solution. What I like about Reolink is they even provide you with a strap. So if you wanted to strap this down as part of mounting, you could. More mounting paraphernalia, USB-A to USB-C, and then the rest of our mounting hardware. One of the things that I've come to love about Reolink cameras is actually their versatile mounting options. There's a lot of cameras that I personally have looked at and actually stepped away from because I couldn't figure out where I'd be able to mount them. Well, let me tell you, the ability to mount something to just about anything with a strap like this sets Reolink apart from a lot of its competitors and other cameras that I've tested. Even though it comes with a plethora of extras in the box and looks like decent hardware, how easy it is to set up determines whether you'll actually use it or not. So let's take a look at how the setup was. This will be setup of the Reolink Argus 4 Pro. Start things off, you're going to open up your Reolink app, come up and press the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to prompt you to scan a QR code that's on the back of the camera itself, which we're going to do real quick. Once you do this, you're going to configure your Wi-Fi via Bluetooth, or if you already have your Wi-Fi configured already, you can use the bottom selection. We're going to configure because it's been a while since I've done this. So you're going to power on the device by opening the bottom here and pressing the power button. You can see a red light, hear it booting up.
Welcome to Reolink. Please install the Reolink app and scan the QR code on the camera,
which we've already done.
Reolink.
So we've already installed that. We're going to select. So I used Bluetooth to connect over after kind of saying a couple times to make sure I download the app. Here it's allowing me to select what Wi-Fi I'd like to use. Now I can use either 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, it appears, which is nice because I have a little check sign here. So let me put in my credentials. And for me, I'm going to use the 2.4 so I have longer range. Let's see if it does it. I don't have the lights on or anything anymore, but oh, blue light. Device connected to Wi-Fi. Oh, wow, that's nice. Okay. So here we can create a password just for the camera itself. So it has an illegal lockout option. I'm going to turn that off for now, and we're going to generate a password for this very quickly off camera. So once you have your password set up, like I said, turn that off momentarily. We'll come back to that. We're going to select next. So that's going to give this a password. We can name the device if we want to. In my case, I'm going to leave it as is so I know what camera it is. And then please note, it's telling you things that you should avoid. Point to frequently moving objects, strong light, strong interference, heat source, and point it at a mirror. Select next. And then last but not least, it's going to give you a QR code so that you can give this to people so they can share your album, which we're not going to do. That has completed setup of the Reolink Argus 4 Pro. And here we can see there's movement. We're good to go. As you saw, setup was not terrible at all. With this being a battery-powered camera, you might be asking yourself, does it need a hub? Unlike some other battery-powered outdoor cameras, the Argus 4 Pro does not require a hub and operates as a standalone device using Wi-Fi 6. Yes, that's right. This is a Wi-Fi 6 compatible camera. This is the first camera that I have ever tested that has had the ability to use Wi-Fi 6. Not only that, it is a dual band camera, meaning it can use both the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum as well as the faster 5 gigahertz spectrum. If you have this close enough to your Wi-Fi router, or you have a good enough Wi-Fi router, you can actually put this on the 5 gigahertz band and get crystal clear, super snappy, speedy, ultra detailed video from it. This is the first camera that I have tested that has had that kind of Wi-Fi capability. And I will tell you, you will notice a difference. I tested this both on the 2.4 gigahertz, which is my standard testing, but I also had it on the 5 gigahertz. And let me tell you, if you can do it, 5 gigahertz is where it's at for this camera. And I also have a Wi-Fi 6 router over there in the corner if you're interested in what I used when I was testing this. The Argus 4 Pro is also compatible with voice assistants such as Google Home and Alexa. If you did not want to take advantage of the micro SD card and that 128 gig storage, the Argus 4 Pro is also compatible with FTP servers, NVNRs, and Reolink Home Hub, which is a central point for compatible Reolink cameras and acts as a hub, not necessary, but can act as a centralized hub for compatible Reolink cameras. And using Reolink's Home Hub, you would have access to 6 terabytes of storage space. As I mentioned before, the PIR sensor has smart AI technology, which can determine the difference between a person pet. However, all of those settings are done through the application. So let's take a look. This is the Reolink app for the Reolink Argus 4 Pro. Here you can see I have it at the top of my list. Note that this one also says not connected. That is because it is a battery-powered camera and it does not connect all the time to help preserve the battery. In the lower left-hand corner here, you could see an icon for the battery. Notice it's green and has a lightning bolt. That indicates that it is charging via an external solar panel, which is an extra that you can get for the camera. On the upper right hand corner here, we have PIR. If I tap this, I can turn on and off the PIR sensor. Notice now it's no PIR, and it's actually showing me a live feed. We're going to turn that PIR back on for battery savings. And then up here, this is another way that you can access the settings for the camera. But we're going to tap on it and open up the camera. We'll give this a moment to load. In the upper left-hand corner, you have the name of the camera as well as the bit rate for the camera. To the right of that, we have our alarm. Tapping that, if I select this icon, it will either play the default sound, or if you set up a new trigger sound, tapping this will have it go off, and it sounds like this. To the right of that is our flashlight or torch. Selecting this will actually turn on the LED lights. You'll notice right there, it has a faint blue hue. So if you're doing this in the daytime or when it's not super dark out and you can't tell when the LEDs are on, you might accidentally trigger it. It's not terrible. They don't stay on that long. You can adjust that in the settings area, but I wish this icon maybe filled in completely white so that I knew that that was on. To the right of that, we have our 4 boxes. This indicates the view. Right now I'm on single camera view, but Reolink allows you to have up to 4 different cameras displayed all at one time, and that's what this box is for. Our settings we'll touch on a little later. To the right of that, we have our 3 dots. This will bring up immersive mode, meaning, hey, you don't have any of the extra options that you were seeing before. We're going to bring that back. And then we have picture-in-picture. This is another great option that Reolink has, allowing you to monitor your camera while you're doing other things on other screens. Down here in the center, this is our active view. If I double tap, it's going to bring me into this multi-camera view, and double tapping again brings us back to our single. If we wanted to zoom in, we have to pinch to zoom, and we're going to use the well over here as our example. You'll notice right now it's on low, so it's saving bitrate. If I select this and select clear, which is actually going to be our high setting, so the most information and data that we can get from it, it's going to bring us all the way back out, but I'm going to zoom in again so that you could see the visual clarity difference between the low and the high mode. Double tapping there will pull it all the way back. I got ahead of myself. Down here, we have a pause play button. If I select that, it will pause the live feed, or I can select play. Here we have our sound. Do we want to hear the audio from our live feed? You can mute that or have it off. On this camera icon, we'll take a still frame of whatever happens to be in frame. So if I go like that, it has taken a picture. To the right of that is a movie camera. Selecting that will record video of any movement that happens to be going on in frame. We're going to turn that off and then touch on our high-low setting. If you're worried about preserving Wi-Fi bandwidth or the camera's battery, you can select low. It is still usable, but if you're getting this camera, you're getting it for that high fidelity video. To the right of that, we have our full screen mode. Selecting that kind of shifts everything around, but you still have access to all of your options. Coming down, we have our talk button. Selecting this will give us our talking options. Here we have our earphone mode, which is noiseless. We have our tap to talk, and if I select this, this is actually full duplex. I don't have to press and hold. They can hear me, they can talk back to me all at the same time. We're going to turn that off, and then we have our volume. I have to be actively talking in order for that to be functional. So here you can see I can hear, and then I can lower or raise my side volume as needed. We're going to select that off and move on to the right. We have our playback. Selecting this will bring up a timeline of all of your video that the camera has taken. And by default, it's going to be in this strip mode. And each one of these blue lines right here is an indicator of something that has happened. Now, I have swapped between a bunch of different SD cards, so you're not seeing all that I can see. If I wanted to see a different view, I could simply select these lines here, and now I'm in a thumbnail view. So if you prefer seeing things as thumbnail, this is how you'd be able to do that. Not only that, you may have noticed in the upper right hand corner of these icons in these thumbnails is a person or a pet icon, meaning it's going to let you know what it sees. If I select on one of these icons, it will start playing that video feed right up here. So this is me and my robot moving around. I can come up here and I could slow this down to half speed if I wanted to. So now things are moving a little slower. I can kind of see what's going on. I could select even slower if I wanted to. And then if I wanted to download this, I would simply select this icon. One of the great things that Reolink has is the ability to take what could be a long clip and shrink it down to what you want, simply by dragging sizing handles. Notice now, it's only going to be a 17-second clip, and it's going to show me a preview of that in case I want to refine that anymore. Once I'm perfectly satisfied, I select the download option right there, and it will download that to your phone's library. You also have the ability to share Reolink Capture and win special gift, or share with others via an application. When you're ready, simply select done. For our video footage, you have play pause, sound, camera, just like we had before where it takes a still frame, or record video. You could record it this way, but the download is such a better way of doing it. On the bottom here, we have our filter. If you have this in a high traffic area and you only want to see recordings for specific events, in my case, I want people. I would deselect pets and vehicles, and then I will only see videos that have a person in it. If I want a pet, I simply tap it, and it will show me pets as well. That is one of the great features about Reolink's video saving, in that you have the ability to filter what you're looking for, but also clip down those sizes. If you're in your timeline view here, you can select a different date simply by selecting the date. Again, I've been swapping in and out SD cards. If I had an SD card that had previous dates, these would be white, and I could go back and select that date. Selecting the X button will close out your playback area, and that has been everything that we could do for the camera controls. But if we come up to the right hand corner and select the sprocket icon, now we get into the settings for this camera. Starting at the top, we have the name and the usable space in that SD card that you have installed, as well as its Wi-Fi connection. If I select this, there's a lot of sensitive information, but that's how you could change your name and so forth. Coming down, we have battery. As I indicated before, it has a sun with a lightning bolt and green. That means that it is charging. Now, it is a abysmally gloomy day, as you can see here when I'm actually filming this, and the solar panel is still picking up power. If I select this, it will say say what my battery level is, and will give me a runtime of information here if I had a chart. So running time of the last 4 weeks. Down here we have our Wi-Fi. If you ever needed to change your Wi-Fi, this is where you'd come to do it. Display, selecting this. Notice it's going to give you a live view of the settings that you're playing with. So right here we have stream. It's letting me know clear and fluent. This is your high and low. Your high settings are 5120 by 1440 at 15 frames a second. And then your low is going to be 1536 by 432 at 15 frames a second. No matter what you do, it's always going to be 15 frames a second. However, if I wanted to edit any of these, such as 15 frames, I can change it lower. Or if I wanted to make this resolution higher, I can come in here and do that. And you can do that with each of those. So that's a very nice feature to have. Anti-flicker, it will allow you to change the hertz rate of the camera itself. So if you've ever been to a foreign country and you've seen lights flickering, it's a frequency thing with the hertz rate. You can adjust it there if you need to. Brightness will allow you to dynamically change the brightness of the picture. Meaning, if I lower this, it's going to get darker and it will show it right there. But I can also brighten this. So if you happen to have this in an area that's kind of dark and hard to see, you can increase the brightness. Right now, it's going to look washed out because, well, if I'm being honest, I don't need that option, but it's nice that it's right there and you can change that. Here we have camera name. Right now I have it on the bottom right. You have lots of places that you can move it around to, but you can also hide it if you don't want it to show up there. Same thing with the date and time. You could select its location or hide it altogether. You also have your watermark, which is the Reolink watermark. For me, I like having it so I can keep track of the cameras that things are coming from, but you can toggle that off and it will take it away. Here we have privacy mask. What this will allow you to do is select an area right here. So this wishing well, I don't want that to be recorded. I don't want it to be visible when I'm looking through the live feed. If I set up a privacy area, it will hide that area so that I can't view it and I can't see anything on the recording. It blocks it out. It does not exist. You can have up to 8 privacy areas. So as you can see, I've got a large field of stuff that I can view from here. And if I don't want to see something, I can put a bunch of those in there and block them out. I can also delete the individual one that I just did, or I can select remove all. If you wanted to keep it, simply select the save button in the upper right-hand corner. Coming down, we have advanced. So right here, we have our image stitching, and this will allow you to adjust horizontal and vertical. What does this mean? You get to fine tune the appearance so that it best suits where you have it. So in my case, if I wanted vertical, I can increase it. If I want to manipulate the horizontal, I could do that too. Now, for me, it's monitoring such a large swath that it's difficult to see any changes that might have happened there. Just know, if you needed to, if you had this slightly askewed, that's where you could go under advanced. Brightness and shadows, just like I showed you before, you can adjust. By default, it's on auto, but I can change my brightness levels, I can adjust my shadows, and then if you screw something up and you want it to go back to how it was, you can always restore default very quickly. Just like with our color night mode, you can adjust your brightness and shadows. Unless you really need to, you can leave it on auto. Coming back, we move on to audio. And here we have the ability to record audio and then our speaker volume. Some area you're not legally allowed to record audio. If you need to, that's how you can come in and toggle that off. Coming down to our lights. Here we have our spotlight. Right now, I have the mode set for off, which is just keep the lights off because I want to test the advanced color sensor that they have for night mode. But if I select auto, what that will do is as things get dark, it will automatically turn on the spotlights. And then here we have a slider adjuster for the actual brightness of those LED spotlights. Coming down, we have our PIR sensor. You can turn that on or off. If you want to actually detect motion, you got to have it on, but they also allow you to adjust the sensitivity. The higher the sensitivity is, the further out it will detect to. If you're having a lot of false alarms or triggers, you can select reduce false alarms up there and it will kind of dynamically change the detection algorithm to not just be, hey, it saw movement, but it's movement that matches these particular thing. Coming down, we have our detection alarm. Right now, I don't have it turned on, but if we wanted to, we can select a zone and say, hey, we want this area over here to detect for people, and then save. And then I could come back and come to animals. Well, I only care about this zone right here for animals. There's a lot of customization that Reolink gives you that make this a very full-featured camera. Motion mask, selecting this. If a moving target happens to be in frame, you'll see a box around it. It kind of looks like this. It is useful if you are having trouble tracking something moving through frame, but I have seen it grab multiple targets and it can be a little busy. Moving on, we have sensitivity and then smart detection. Right here, you can actually set the level of sensitivity per object type. So I have 0 vehicles and I have people and pets that work their way through here. But see, 86 for people, 79 for animals, and I'll hit save. And now the detection settings, instead of just being a blanket for everything, I have selectively chosen what type of sensitivity the camera will have when it sends me a notification. Object size is another interesting tool that Reolink has, in that you can select a minimum object size or a maximum object size for a person, vehicle, or pet. So what this means is if I do minimum, that there, I need an object to be smaller than that box in order to be detected and notified. And if I do max, it would have to be bigger than this box for me to get notified. And that's just for person. That's not for vehicle, that's not for animal. You could do that for each. When you're done, simply select the save in the upper right-hand corner. Coming back, we have camera recording. Do you want it to record? Yes or no? Do you want it to record on a schedule? In this case, I have it all the time, but if I wanted to, I could set up a schedule for specific days and times. You also have detection type. So do you want to set up a detection schedule for person, vehicle, and animal? So if you have a specific time of day that you don't want people in a specific area, you could set it to let you know. Post-motion recording duration means that after movement has been detected, how long will the camera continue to record a clip for you? You can go to 8 seconds all the way to 30 seconds. And then down here we have overwrite files on the SD card. You can set it so that it overwrites all video files within a day, and this is where I was getting in trouble because I was playing with this. Overwrite all files within a day, or by default, and what you should use is overwrite oldest files, meaning only the oldest files in the camera will be overwritten as you run out of space. You can also select none, which will keep all of your recordings, and you just have to swap out your SD cards. Push notification, turning that on, you could set up a schedule. Notice I have person and animal notifications only, but if you want your camera to send you something letting you know that it's seen something, you do have to have push notifications on. There is a test button in the upper right hand corner in case you want to make sure that it will actually send something to your phone. Email alerts on. This will be similar to the push notification, except it will send it to your email. You do have to set that up. FTP, you have the ability to turn that on or off. If you don't know what FTP is, stay out of here. Don't mess with it. But if you're looking for that feature, that's where it is. Siren, this is going to be, do I want my siren to turn on when it detects motion? You have siren sound, you have default sound, or you can select a custom sound up to 5 seconds. Hey, you get off my lawn. I know you're there. Get off my lawn before I get my something. And what this will do is send this file to the camera so that when the siren's on and it detects motion, it will play this. You will hear a pre-alarm sound from the camera indicating that the camera determined that there's motion. It's pretty much giving a warning to anybody who's getting close to the camera. And then you have your schedule. If there's specific days and times that you want this to be on schedule, if not on all the time, and then for what types of triggers. And we come down to share this camera. Selecting this option will generate a QR code that you can give to other Reolink users so that they can view your camera. Time-lapse, this is another great feature that Reolink has over other cameras in that it will allow you to take a time-lapse photo. It has some presets, moving cloud, sunrise, sunset, construction, blooming, but you also have the ability to customize it. Capture starting date, duration, interval, quality, and file type, and then you hit start and it would go about its business. When you have a time-lapse, you simply come up here and you'll see it in the gallery. You also have settings for your time-lapse if you wanted to. Overwrite time-lapse files, yes or no. Coming down, we have advanced. At the top, we have illegal login lockout. If you turn this on, if too many attempts were made to get into your account, this will lock things out without your specific device password. You have change device password and then date and time. From here too, you also have reboot the device and restore the device. At the bottom of your settings page, you have log out of device and delete this device. And those are all the settings for the Reolink Argus 4 Pro using the Reolink app. As you saw, there is a lot that you can do with the Reolink app. It is one of the most feature-rich applications that I have tested for a consumer-based camera. You want to know how good is the camera actually? You want to see some testing. Let's start off with an audio test. What I can tell you right off the bat, the audio does well considering the size of the camera and the speaker in the back. But don't take my word for it. Let's take a listen to some audio tests.
Audio test. Reolink Argus 4 Pro. Valley sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Test 1, test 2, test 3, and test.
Next, video testing. I will let you know, I will have a link in the corner there for the raw video samples from this camera. What I will say, daylight images are sharp and bright with zero transition noticeable as the target moves between the two lenses, as I mentioned before. Night shots are where this camera really shines. The ColorX technology allowing for color night vision without the need for the spotlights on the camera, which, as I mentioned, I have only tested on one other camera, and it did not have nearly the field of view that this camera has. But there is a trade-off. Even with the spotlights from the camera, you will notice some ghosting and artifacting on faster moving targets. But overall, you will see things that you could never have seen before because of the ColorX technology. Moving on, we have our detection. We have this large wide field PIR sensor. How well does it work? Well, what I will say is it works pretty well when you get the direction of the sensor where you want it to be. It can detect 33 feet out, but it can be a little off because of the placement of the camera compared to what you're trying to view. So if that 50-degree vertical field of view is a little off, you can see the PIR sensor isn't quite level with the lenses, so you'll have to fiddle with it a little bit to really lock it in. But even with that, I got a pretty good result. Let me show you. In the periphery of where it can see, but I'm not yet close enough to the PIR sensor. So we'll just walk it a little closer. About here is where the PIR sensor should pick me up. So we'll see how, there we go. Oh, that's not bad at all, actually. I heard it click too. So it's right up there. Even though there is a lot about this camera that I like, and I mean a lot, there are a few cons that I wanted to bring to your attention. First being that angle of the PIR sensor. It took me a little longer than I would have liked to dial it in. Also, I mentioned that rain did not gather on the lenses, which is absolutely true. I had no problem with that. However, at some points in the early morning, you can actually get condensation on one of the lenses while not having it on the other. Again, that will depend on your placement of the camera, but in those instances, I actually saw the distinctive line between one lens and the other, which is why when I was testing it other times, I knew exactly where the middle point was for this. It's not a deal breaker, but just a point of information for you. Last, while the large 180-degree field of view is nice, some might find the limitation of the 50-degree vertical field of view off-putting. Just know what you're getting this camera for and where you're going to be placing it. You want to keep track of stuff that's wide, not necessarily tall. If you have a large area that you need to keep track of day and night and don't want to worry about finding a power outlet when placing a camera, then the Reolink Argus 4 Pro is what you have been looking for. With the extra solar panel, you can place once and just forget about it, and it will keep an eye on everything. Because of all that, I can strongly recommend the Reolink Argus 4 Pro. I was very impressed with this camera, and as long as you know that you're getting it for that super wide field of view, this is the camera that you have been looking for, and I strongly recommend it. If this camera sounds like what you've been looking for, I will have a link where you can pick one up for yourself. If Reolink is nice enough to give my viewers a discount code, I will make sure to have that in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Not sure if this is the right camera for you? On screen now, you will see 2 other camera reviews that I have done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.